You've heard of blackface. You may have even heard of digital blackface. Now prepare for the just as sinister, way more discreet, new and improved media blackface. Here's our host, Cezanne Bush.
Yeah. Stop clapping. Immediately. Thank you. Okay, now let's begin. Who directed critically acclaimed hit film The Woman King? If you said Gina Prince Blythewood, you would be correct. Next question. Who produced said film, The Woman King? If you said Viola Davis, you would also be correct. You would have to also then include this white woman as well. Okay, next question. Who came up with the idea for The Woman King? If you said Viola Davis, you'd be incorrect. It was actually that same white woman. Who wrote The Woman King? If you figured it out by now, it was that white lady and also another one. Okay. Lightning round. Who directed Black Panther?
Ryan Coogler!
Who wrote Black Panther?
Ryan Coogler and Robert Cole!
Who produced Black Panther?
Humpty and Dumpty!
Who was the cinematographer for Black Panther?
This white lady, because I can't think of anything.
Who was the editor for Black Panther?
More teachers Adam Evil Stepsisters, like for the Wicca number 9, and Claudia Costello!
Alright, who was the composer for Black Panther?
Some Swedish guy.
Alright, last one. Who casted Black Panther?
J.K. Rowling cosplaying as Hermione.
Alright, those were good attempts. Those were good guesses. Some of those were correct. Most of those were semi-correct. However, we all lost. Everybody lost. There's no winners in this game. Game over. Good night. Who's telling our stories? I feel like the industry's been at a point where it's recognized the marketability and melanin in movies, and our best example for that is Black Panther. Back in 2018, Black Panther had about a $200 million budget, which is a lot, but also it grossed about $860 million. The executives couldn't ignore that even if they wanted to. We have more examples of this, not with black people, but with Latino folks. Coco, I know y'all remember that shit. Beautiful movie. That had about a $200 million budget too, and also grossed about $820 million. I bet it had nothing to do with all the black folks coming out for Black Panther or all the Mexican folks going out for Coco. And I mean, of course, other communities definitely went to go see those films because they were amazing. But those films were aggressively marketed to black and brown communities. And then, what do we have now? Black Panther 2, blacks versus Latinos. That was besides the point. I was off topic. My prediction for Black Panther 3, however, Black Panther versus Shang-Chi. That's where it's going. I'm calling it now. Diversity is trending. Kinda. UCLA actually conducted a study in diversity in film and television, and they considered factors such as race, sex, and disability in regards to proportional representation in theatrical and streaming releases. I don't know what proportional means. Like, I'm assuming it's like there's only like 7, 8, 10% of black people in America, and so only 10% of film should reflect that. I call that bullshit if you ask me, but they say that we're all pretty much being underrepresented. Black people, Asian folks, Latino folks, the MENA, Middle Eastern, North American folks, and multiracial folks. I had to look up what MENA was because I've low-key never seen that before. Yeah, I think it's interesting how they're grouping Middle Eastern and North Africans together. Like, what? We're all being underrepresented. Alright, there were like a bunch of numbers and graphs and charts, and in order to not bore everybody, I'm going to highlight the ones that I think are important. If you want to go check it all out for yourself, I'm going to put the link in the description down to the study. In the study, they say minorities, but I'm going to say not white in this case so you can get the picture. So these charts show the diversity in casting for leads in theatrical and streaming releases, and it's aggressively white. These next ones show the diversity in overall casting in theatrical and streaming releases, and it's aggressively white. They also claim that black folks are actually being overrepresented in streaming, but if I'm gonna go ahead and delete like black trauma media, would you look at that? 0. So the rest of the study talks about like directors, writers, and consideration of things such as that. And yeah, same trend. Not as diverse as it should be, but they're also making it seem like it is proportional. These charts kind of show how diverse casting is financially, critically, and culturally more impactful than non-diverse casting. Why is that? Because we live in a diverse world and diverse films reflect that. I think it's also important to note when they call diverse is like, you know, our token black characters and stuff like that, considering things that's just like, oh, most of the speaking roles, half of them are minorities, and that's such a wide range of peoples that could include. So why is it that the people who seek to benefit the most from this diversity are white people, and not the people that are being represented? This isn't me saying that white folks can't make films about other races. This is me saying that white folks shouldn't make films about other races without including said races in on the process from the jump. Actual positions of influence, actual positions that can have an actual say in what goes on in the film, so that we can get some accurate representation, so that people can go on set, people who aren't white can go on set and get treated right. I mentioned Black Panther earlier. Let me mention another Marvel IP, Captain America, and Anthony Mackie. He's our Captain America now. I haven't really watched Marvel, to be honest. That shit fell off. But the point I'm trying to make is he is a black man in Hollywood. He was a black man during a peak of the MCU. Here's what he has to say about the MCU, about Disney, and about the film industry overall. It really bothered me that I've done 7 Marvel movies where every producer, every director, every stunt person, every costume designer, every PA, every single person has been white. We've had one black producer, his name was Namor. He produced Black Panther. But when you do Black Panther, you have a black director, black producer, a black costume designer, a black stunt choreographer, and I'm like, that's more racist than anything else. If you can only hire black people for the black movie, are you saying they're not good enough when you've had a mostly white cast? Marvel can post all the black squares and solidarity posts they want. When it comes down to it, Marvel needs to implement systemic change, and that starts with hiring more diverse talent. My big push for Marvel is hire the best person for the job. Even if it means we're gonna get the best 2 women, we're gonna get the best 2 men, fine. I'm cool with those numbers for the next 10 years. Because it starts to build a new generation of people who can put something on their resume to get them other jobs. If we got to divvy out as a percentage, divvy it out. And that's something as leading men that we can go in and push for. Alright, I already showed him. This is Namor, the executive producer he's talking about. And here are the rest of the producers of Black Panther. First, let's get rid of this myth of meritocracy. Because everybody and their mama knows Hollywood is not a what you know industry, but a who you know industry. These producers and executives don't know black people, Asian people, Latino people, anybody else other than white folks. How are we supposed to even get an interview to get the job? They're not in community with us. For the white folks who are in community with us, they probably don't have enough power to do anything. They're just another employee. Or they're gonna give it to another white person still. So I've been to film school, and I know a lot of people, not that many, but I know a few people who are working at places like Paramount, Marvel, A24, Warner Brothers, and it's almost always the same case. They work for these companies. They don't have to draft up an invoice to go chase the money down that they worked for. It's like they get money direct deposited. They work for these companies. These studios, when they need people, they're not gonna go look for the best fit. And they're especially not gonna look for the best fit from people who are looking for work. They're going to be looking for people from within their company. They're either gonna bring them up, or they're gonna look for already established names elsewhere. The Christopher Nolans, the Quentin Tarantinos, them motherfuckers. They're gonna bring them in for the marketing. And so everybody else is kind of tough luck. If you're not already within the company or already established within this very, very old industry. It's not that old actually, but it's, older than us. Then you're not going to get a chance. It's not about diversity. It's about profits. They don't care about DEI or whatever. They care about the money. So the Color Purple Broadway remake has had a lot of controversy surrounding its release, mainly because they don't treat their peoples right. And Miss Taraji P. Henson has spoken extensively on this in various interviews, so I'm gonna let her speak for herself, and here's a clip from one of them.
And I heard on the street, Taraji, you had the audacity to say you're thinking about stopping acting. We said, stop talking. Are you thinking about it?
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm tired of hearing my sisters say the same thing over and over. You get tired. I hear people go, you work a lot. Well, have to. The math ain't mathing. And when you start working a lot, you have a team. Big bills come with what we do. We don't do this alone. The fact that we're up, there's a whole entire team behind us.
Right.
They have to get paid. So when you hear someone saying, oh, such and such made $10 million, no, that's not, that didn't make it to their account. Know that off the top, Uncle Sam is getting 50%.
That's right.
Okay? So do the math. Now we have $5 million. Your team is getting 30% or whatever your team is off of what you grossed.
Sometimes
not
more.
after what Uncle Sam took. Now do the math. So
You're tired.
I'm only human, and it seems every time I do something and I break another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, I'm at the bottom again, like I never did what I just did, and I'm just tired. I'm tired. I'm tired.
I get that.
It wears on you, Because what does that mean? What is that telling me?
What is it telling me? Yeah. And what does it tell me? Yeah.
And if I can't fight for them coming up behind me, then what the fuck am I doing? I'm sorry.
Tell me why in 2023, 2024, we have the Color Purple remake or the Color Purple film adaptation of the Broadway stage play that was an adaptation of the Color Purple movie by Steven Spielberg that was an adaptation of a book by a black woman, Alice Walker, and we have black people being mistreated in the most modern one. Oprah has definitely deserved something coming her way for a while now, but I'm not sure if this is it. Actually, no, this is, because this is really just her so kind of being complicit in a bullshit system. However, corporate culture demands a scapegoat, and that's what she is. She's a scapegoat. Steven Spielberg, the other white producer involved, Warner Brothers, none of them said anything about this. They've stayed radio silent, while Oprah's caught all the slack. Why? Because for the media, it's black on black violence. This is what they want. And so that's what they push. But that's not even the case, because Oprah tried her best to get those actors what they needed. And it was the studio that was underfunding them, gatekeeping resources, and making it harder for these people to get basic things just so they could do their jobs at the best that they could. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a remake of a play, of a movie, of a book. And the topics that it's talking about, And the way they're being treated is too ironic. So I'm gonna also deliver the news that Steven Spielberg is producing a Martin Luther King Jr. movie with Chris Rock set to direct it. So yeah, real excited for that, I guess. No, it's never getting
Excuse
my
me.
money.
If you're done rambling, we have another game show.
Y'all thought that shit was over.
There's more questions to be asked.
Wait. Alright, and we're back. Okay, everybody. 5,000 points for what is black culture.
Hip hop?
Yes, but there's more.
Old food?
Yes, technically.
Jollof rice?
That is black, but there's also still more.
Fried chicken?
Who said that? I feel like we're now getting into some stereotypes.
Anime?
That's Japanese, but I would also consider that pretty black.
Resistance?
Okay, that sounds, yeah, I like that.
Oppression?
Okay, no, you lost me. Security, get him out of here.
Gangs?
Okay, game over. Everybody loses again. I'm canceling the show. Go ahead. When I say black, or black culture, most folks, I assume, most folks are going to be thinking of black folks here in America, black Americans. But they're not even going to be thinking of us accurately. They're going to be thinking of stereotypes and tropes and awful depictions that have been exported overseas by Hollywood. Hollywood being the biggest exporter of culture. That, along with music, I think it's safe to say that most people's understanding of the black diaspora doesn't come from black people that they know, but comes from black people that they have watched on screen or have listened to through some headphones. These executives and producers do not care. If you're black, you're black. If you're a black person from anywhere but America, you're easier to market black. It's why Black Panther's even a character. I think it's pretty common knowledge at this point that a white man, Jack Kirby, created Black Panther. If that's news to you, I'm not sure if you should really be surprised. So Jack Kirby, during an interview, said the reason why he wrote Black Panther is he had no blacks in his comic, and he had black friends, or he had a black friend and black readers. So he made a fake African country, isolated from colonization, and made Black Panther the king. The point I want to make is that Jack Kirby grew up in New York. Not to say he might not have known some African niggas, but like, in reality, he knew New York niggas. And so he's talking about, oh, I feel like they haven't been represented properly in comics, and then you make for your friend, for your black readers, a fake African country superhero called Black Panther. It's like, what about the folks down the street from you? Cause that's not their home. That's not what they know. And at that point, it became pretty clear that he was just like, let me just make a black person. He did it out of literal thoughts of representation, and then decided to represent a fake culture. Instead of like just like looking down the street, I guess, or hanging out with his homie, and maybe even asking him some questions like, what would you want to see in like a superhero? Maybe he did that. I don't actually know, because he didn't give that much detail, so I have to assume he made it in isolation from black folks. I just have to assume, to be honest, because he's talking about representing the folks that he knows in New York, and then he made up an African country. It's like, if he really wanted to make something accurate, he would probably end up with something like Static Shock. But guess what? That was created by black guys. All Jack Kirby knew was that Africans and African Americans both had black skin, and that's all that really mattered to him when it came to representing us. He didn't account for different cultures or anything like that. So Wakanda is just like an amalgamation of a bunch. That's another pattern that we see in a lot of films and televisions that is catered towards communities, towards cultures, and they use that as a marketing tool. It's just a hodgepodge. They just mash them together. Here you go. Let's cook it up. Let's cook up a big old stew of diversity with everybody so we can get the most amount of money. Eat up. Go ahead, eat this gruel. Flash forward to 2018, and Killmonger is a black American with no dad who is pissed at Africa for abandoning him. And then when he goes to address these grievances, he gets killed, and then Wakanda sets up an embassy in the hood. But you're not helping. Now let me mention one crucial point. We are being starved for representation. And when you're starving, you eat what you can get. In 2022, the film that had the most amount of black people pay to go see it on opening weekend was The Woman King, with 56% of the audience being black folks. How do they get these numbers? I really don't know, because I also don't remember when buying tickets we include our race. Are they keeping track of that? I don't know. It's something I just kind of want to bring up. Like, how y'all get these numbers? In similar fashion to Black Panther, The Woman King, most famously known to be produced by Viola Davis, was also produced by this white lady, Maria Bello. It was her idea after she went on a trip to Africa. Yeah, it was this lady's idea, but not this lady's idea, for The Woman King. So Maria Bello went on a trip to Benin over in West Africa, learned about the Dahomey, the Gojis, and then came back over to America, linked up with another white lady, wrote the story, and then sometime before they got the director, hit up Viola Davis and got her involved. Because what would it look like if it was two white people behind The Woman King? It would look weird. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so like I said, I'm not sure when Viola Davis joined The Woman King, but we do know when the director did. Junior Prince Blythewood, director of Love and Basketball, The Old Guard, and now The Woman King, almost wasn't a part of the movie. When they went to the studios to look for a director, they had to go through a list of studio-approved directors, which I think is a very suckish thing to say out loud. They were looking specifically for a black woman, of course, and when they were trying to go through these studio-approved lists, they had a lot of trouble. Ain't that crazy? I honestly assume they ended up pulling it off because they probably had a real conversation and said, we can't have another white woman also directing this movie. It wouldn't market well. Or something like that. I don't know. But they found her. They never said really how, but like they found her. Okay. So now, let me tell you about my experience going to see The Woman King. I got it from you. Yeah, so when me and my roommates went to go see The Woman King in theaters, we saw it opening weekend. We went to our local Cinemark. We snuck in our snacks, used our student IDs, even though we had already graduated. And when we went into the theater, it was moderately filled with all black people. So we sat in our seats and we enjoyed what was a captivating tale. It was a pretty good movie, to be honest. But the first time the colonizer and the coon showed up, coming to buy slaves, I knew some shit was gonna happen. I just knew. A suggestive scene shows up where Nawi pulls up on him bathing naked. And when we saw that, I groaned. My roommates groaned. And the whole theater groaned. Then we all laughed because everybody groaned. So eventually, when they kissed, we all groaned again. Then the movie ended, and we all went home. Then. Thanks. The main point being, why, since that movie was so heavily marketed to black people, that when we went to go see it, we laughed at a particular scene. And it's because we've seen it so many times. It's a trope. When you think about it logically, she swore an oath to not get with guys. She swore an oath as a warrior to not get with men. And there's men all around her, same skin color as her, But when light skin mafia pulls up with the loose flowing curls, suddenly she's questioning her oath, she's questioning the system, questioning her superiors. Bullshit! Yeah, so like all of us making fun of that was like a collective response. Let me also mention that after Maria Bello's trip over to Benin in West Africa, and she came back and did all her plotting, she went back to go shoot it over in South Africa, known colonizer territories. Instead of going over to West Africa and helping out that economy, she went over to South Africa to help that one. I'm not going through every cast and crew member of this film and finding their races. That's crazy. I honestly think it's a little crazy. I even did it for the producers and stuff like that. But who gets to tell our stories? Who's allowed to tell our stories? Who gets to profit off of our stories? And when said profit goes away, what's gonna happen to this diversity? We actually do know. Hollywood was born during a time of intense segregation and extreme oppression against black folks. And they actively participated in it with the invention of minstrel shows. They figured out a way to include black people without including black people until, in a weird circular way, they included black folks to exploit themselves. Oh, let me rephrase that. They exploited black people to make fun of themselves. And it stinks. It really does. It's kind of cruel. But that's where our industry comes from, and we cannot forget that. Minstrel films lasted all the way up until about the 1960s, and it ended because of the civil...
Season, wait! We actually have breaking news.
What?
We have a clip to show you.
Okay, go ahead, play it. Nope, cut it. No more. Maybe that shit never ended. No, it's never gonna go away. It's never. I know, Toast. It's pretty sad, isn't it? So, minstrel shows at its core have been white people trying to define blackness in their own lanes. And the way minstrel shows have evolved over time, and like I said, they figured out a way to get us to do it. Still where we're at. I think as time goes on, it becomes more and more clear that the damage has already been done. We see in real time certain individuals uphold the legacy of minstrelsy in a way to define blackness and attempt to exploit our culture for money. And they make me sick, to be perfectly honest. They're absolutely diabolical. Blackness is often associated with style, swag, and sauce. They're not the same. Black people are, of course, very stylish, very swag, and very sauce. But not all of us. Because we're not a monolith. So when some black people have no swag, have no style, contain no sauce, we question their blackness. But in reality, they have no real correlations. All you gotta do to be black is be black. You can't let anybody else define what that means to you, especially not film, television, or any other forms of media, because they're doing it for money. Very rare when they're doing it for authenticity. End of the day, they seek to use our faces to sell shit back to us and those in allyship. When all the streamers turned into content farms and nostalgia bait, and when they began to lose profits, they didn't blame it on their own ineptitudes and inability to handle art, but they blamed it on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Warner Brothers CEO claims it took courage to cut content from their platforms. Claimed that it took bravery to cut content. But what did they cut? Just kidding about that last one. Just had to mention another one I thought ended prematurely due to racism in film. There's a reason we see all these CEOs talking about cutting content, writing off content, and all we see them do it to is black, brown, and queer film and television. Studios are not going to say this part out loud, but I will. Diversity is back on the political chopping block. And there is an anti-woke agenda being rallied against any film that isn't just white, cisgendered people. It's fucking with the money. I've sat here and listed all my grievances, but nary a solution was named. So how about this one? Hire black people, hire brown people, hire queer folks. Just hire people with different experiences from different groups of people. And then maybe, just maybe, we could get some true representation up in there. But also, I'm not sure if our answers truly lie within the studio systems. I don't. Those systems are ran by money, but this is an art form. And I think one of the biggest propaganda pieces Hollywood's managed to spit out is that filmmaking is equal parts business as it is art. That's some capitalist bullshit to me, bro. To me, filmmaking's always just been an art. I never liked film because of, oh, this budget was crazy. Oh, wow, the business prowess behind this film was impeccable. This is why I love this film. I like films because of what they say, how they make me feel, and just the humanity behind it. And it feels like the longer we go on with these studio systems, the less and less humanity will actually be behind film. Why the studio system also isn't the answer is because they control everything. They have a monopoly on the business, but they still manage to make consistent flops. And why is that? Because film is an art, first and foremost. And it seems that they tend to lose the most money when they forget that shit. There are people out there that make the representation that you want to see. Films about black people that isn't just black trauma and the struggle. That isn't a minstrel show or them people making fun of us or us making fun of ourselves. But it's us being regular people. Happy, sad, angry, messy, and chaotic. All of it. And there are folks out there who want to make that shit. And I think it is just up to us as, I feel like, consumers, or more just as like people who maybe want to respect an art form really, to go out there and fund independent films. And I ain't talking like A24 type shit. I wouldn't really call that independent. Like, why are all these budgets like $50 million, $5 million, and it's independent? $5 million independent? That's insane. Let's bring back some actual micro budgets. 10,000! But why can't we? Because of the aggressive gatekeeping that Hollywood and those in power do to make sure poor folks can't make films for free. Go support your local indie filmmakers. Go support your independent film festivals. Just go watch films made by people whose names you do not know. And for the filmmakers that are getting into the industry or even want to go on that path, I'm just going to say one thing to you guys. And it's like, if you want to make art, if you want to make film, I'm just going to ask you why. Is it to make money? Or is it to give an emotion? Is it to entertain? Just make people laugh? It could be whatever. But I would seriously question that before trying to get into this industry. Because I feel like if we don't want it just to turn into, you know, us all being corporate lackeys and essentially films just being like tax write-offs forever, we're gonna have to band together and make shit grassroots, ground up, not with big money. Okay, that's all I wanted to talk about. If you've made it this far, sincerely, thank you. I've been wanting to make this video for a very long time, and I've been wanting to start this channel for a long time, and I kind of just want to use it to talk about whatever I want to talk about, and most of the things that plague my head. If you know me, you know, and if you don't, well, you can subscribe, watch the next video I come out with, and you can find out. Anyway, take it easy. Bye.